Welcome back to City News. It's Richard Southern here at Queen's Park, joined by the incomparable Cynthia Mulligan.
Oh, too kind. It's Friday.
It's Friday. Well, we had an interesting Friday. We were here in the sweltering heat covering the Doug Ford cabinet unveil, Cynthia.
The swearing in, yes, indeed.
Yeah. So I thought, it'd be fun to take a little bit of a dig beneath the headlines. And one of the things that I guess really struck you, having been here 4 years ago when Ford unveiled his first cabinet, was the difference as far as who showed up.
Well, it was much quieter. I mean, I remember 4 years ago, there were massive crowds outside. So there were still around 800 guests, but there were hundreds of people outside the perimeter waiting to greet Doug Ford, and he was being treated like a rock star.
Yeah, we're seeing it there. This is 4 years ago.
Yes.
Today, there was a lot of people here, but they were all invited guests.
Yes.
Tory faithful here today.
And really, the only people that weren't here, that were here, that weren't invited guests, were a small handful of protesters for children with autism.
So kind of indicative of what we saw during the election, in that maybe there's some apathy going on.
I think so. Definitely. And it's, when Doug Ford was first elected 4 years ago, I mean, everybody was like, oh my God, Doug Ford was just elected. And it had been such a roller coaster in Ontario politics, with Patrick Brown stepping in and him coming in at the last minute. And of course, his name, his brother, the former mayor of Toronto City Hall. So there was a lot of unknown and a lot of attention. And now people are like, oh yeah.
Yeah, we've seen that
Ford.
before. There was one big surprise today, and of course you talked about it a lot in your story today, and that's Michael Ford.
Yes.
The Premier naming his nephew as a cabinet minister of multiculturalism.
Yes. And of course, lots of people are calling it patronage, and that he's only there because of his uncle's name.
I mean, I asked Michael, and you did too. I said, listen, how do you respond to the accusations of nepotism? And he gave a good answer. He said, listen, I've been a school board trustee. I've been a member of Toronto City Council. I represent a very diverse area. I want a close election. And those are some valiant, salient points, are they not?
So, sure. I mean, and that is all true. He was a trustee. He's been a councillor at Toronto City Hall. And I am told by people who work within City Hall that he was a very good councillor and he worked very hard. That being said, I think that this is going to be on his shoulders for a very long time. It's going to be difficult to live down. And I wonder if he was going to make him a minister, should he have waited a couple of years until there was a cabinet shuffle and then put him in that position, so at least he could say that he was working hard as an MPP here at Queen's Park. But I was told by an insider that one of the reasons Doug Ford wanted to do this is because he wants somebody he can trust implicitly at that table, who will always have his back.
That's interesting. It's not a careful political decision by any means.
No.
It's a risky one, but it makes sense that he wants an ally at the cabinet table.
And it harkens back to the crazy initial Doug Ford days with Dean French and all these people getting appointments that they shouldn't be getting. So has Doug Ford really changed is a lot of what people are asking.
Yeah,
well, we'll see what happens in the next term.
I want to end on the Premier's speech. I mean, it was very much a repeat, the speech of what we heard during the campaign. It was a stump speech in many ways.
Definitely.
But he did highlight a few things, Cynthia, that I think might give a signal as to where his government's going to focus in the next few months of their mandate. He talked about his infrastructure plans, and he also singled out housing. Take a listen.
The root cause of the housing crisis is supply. Simply put, we need to build more homes across Ontario. Congestion is only getting worse. That's why our government is building Highway 413 and the Bradford Bypass.
Now, Cynthia, when it comes to housing, Housing Minister Steve Clark has his work cut out for him. He has to convince the municipalities, including Toronto, to change the zoning rules in order to build more homes. That's not going to be an easy sell.
No, I chatted with him about it today.
What did you say?
Well, I asked him, how are you going to get more density? How are you going to get the municipalities? Are you going to be tougher on the municipalities? And he kind of hedged a little bit, but he said, yeah, he's going to be working with them, and I think he's going to try and apply more pressure. That was my impression from the conversation.
Another interesting 4 years to come, no doubt, Cynthia.
It will not be dull, Richard. We'll both be very busy here.
We'll be here to cover it. Thanks, Cyn. Appreciate it.
Have a good weekend.
Cheers.